minority communities disproportionately deal with this type of violence, with this type of brutality, excessive force, state-sponsored, murder, violence. But I also don't want to leave out that people who have no power, right? If a police officer is a so-called bad apple and he perceives you to have no power, he will absolutely use that perception to brutalize you. Or if you're a woman, possibly even sexually assault you. I mean, those stories exist as well. And, as you were talking, Cenk, it made me remember a story about, me and a few other people from TYT going out to grab lunch, like during our lunch break. This is several years ago. I remember talking about it on the show. And I made an illegal U-turn. John Idarola was in the car with me, and I totally deserved to get stopped, right? I took a risk. I shouldn't have done it. Illegal U-turn. A sheriff pulls me over, and I immediately admit guilt. I'm like, I know what I did. It was wrong. Here's my license. Here's my registration. Totally complying. Immediately tells me to get out of the car. And then I start kind of panicking because I'm like, but why? Why do you want me to get out of the car? And I start shaking. You can tell that I'm like, nervous about what's happening. And he's like super, super close to me, right? And starts asking me all sorts of questions, berating me. And he wouldn't let up. I told him, I'm like, please just give me the ticket. Like, I didn't, I'm not a bad person. And it wasn't until he asked me, what do you do for a living? I told him I'm a journalist. Where's your office? I pointed down the street because we hadn't gotten very far yet. He let me go. No ticket, no nothing. And I bring that up because if I were a fast food worker, someone who he perceives as an individual who has no power, I don't know what he would do, because he felt real comfortable getting me out of my car and in front of my colleagues being incredibly close to my body. It was so uncomfortable and terrifying. And people around the country deal with this type of treatment on a daily basis, and they have no platform, they have no voice. And their story never gets told.
Yeah, and so for the folks who say it isn't about race, it's about class, my answer is no, it's both. You're not wrong that it's about class. You're right, it is. If you're wealthy or you have some degree of power, you're far, far more likely to get away with anything. And if you're poor or middle class, God help you. But it's also racial. So, and that's why poor African Americans have way more cases of being brutalized by the police, because it's a double whammy.
Yeah, and when that guy who went to Harvard was in Central Park bird watching, none of that mattered. His Harvard degree didn't matter. All that woman saw was a black man that she could weaponize the police against. And so and shame on everyone who had to justify the value of his life by saying that he went to Harvard and he was watching birds, as if he was a sanitation worker, his life wouldn't be worth as much. And that's why I didn't engage in that rhetoric, because I don't think you have to tell people that somebody went to Harvard for their life to matter. But that was just a great indicator. And then you see with the CNN reporter, it didn't matter that he was a reporter and he was there with his crew. And it didn't matter that he's Latino and his last name was Jimenez, as the club owner said that they had extended the Latino community more grace. Race is undeniably, the stain on America's history. Like, that is just the biggest lie ever told, was that you were better because you were lighter. And we've subscribed to that thinking forever, and it's still here. And it is a cancer that is causing a lot of problems. And until we are honest about that, we're not going to arrive at a solution.
Yeah, one last thing about this. I interviewed Ben Jealous earlier today. You guys will get to see it on Monday. He's a former head of the NAACP. And he said something off air that I wanted to share with you guys. We were talking about, he's now a visiting scholar at Penn. And I said, I went to Penn. And so we started talking about schools, and he said that he got into Wharton undergrad too. I actually didn't. I got waitlisted at Penn, then I got into Penn, then I had to transfer to Wharton, et cetera. But Ben is way smarter than I am. He wound up going to Columbia and then wound up becoming a Rhodes Scholar and went to Oxford, et cetera. And he said, for us, we got to get those gold stars so that we could be legitimized. So some folks don't have to get gold stars, but we got to get gold stars so people can say, oh no, Ben Jealous is okay. He's a Rhodes Scholar, right? And that is so true. And I don't know if you guys can, I know you guys can relate to that. I don't know if everybody at home can relate to it, but I could relate to it. I came from a poor immigrant family and no one knew our name. And, we're Muslims. And if you don't have a gold star, you ain't shit. And so, but if you go to a couple of good schools, then people go, oh, okay, maybe he's okay. And so that matters more to us.
You can, and as brilliant as you are, there is somebody in this country, I'm not going to just say the middle of the country, who supports that way of thinking, that with all of your gold stars, who may not even, you know what it is to have to hear someone who works. I'm trying to down anybody, someone who probably doesn't have the same education as that man in Central Park or you or Ben, having to validate you, thinking they have the authority to validate you because of the color of their skin. And that is why it drives me crazy, because I'm like, who are you to say that that man in Central Park is worth it because he went to Harvard? He's worth it because he's a human being. So as many gold stars as you get, in the eyes of a racist and a bigot, it still means nothing. And that is what's so infuriating about it.
Yeah. But even in the eyes of the powerful and the establishment and all, et cetera, that means something to them. Maybe, just maybe, they'll let you in the club. But in the street, you're still brown and you're still black.
All right, I'm done.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.